Welcome, everybody. I'm just going to take a second to make sure everything's running appropriately. You may have noticed I don't have my camera running today because apparently all of my red shirts are in the wash, and I don't feel like having a FedEx shirt broadcasted on the internet. So just, yeah, know that's in there. Um, Today, if I can get the link up, it's going to take just a second, but if I can get the link up, I'm going to have Faith Unfolded come and talk to me for a little bit. He wanted to share some thoughts, concerns. I'm going to be 100% honest. I'm not exactly sure why I'm even doing this. I normally don't take criticism from people, but I felt a little different about this one. Um, the Bible says a wise person um, oh, what's the exact wording? A wise person like seeks counsel or seeks improvement. Um, what's the word? Like a wise person seeks criticism, loves criticism or something. You get the idea. A wise person loves criticism. So I try to aspire to be a wise person, and so I want to hear what people have to say about me. Faith Unfolded seems genuine enough for me to give him the time of day, and so but we're going to see what he has to say about things. Meanwhile, I got to check and make sure the thumbnail isn't something that I'm not looking for. So yeah, just give me 1 minute. Hit the wrong button there for a second. Ended up plastering it all over the internet anyways. Okay, well, I got the link out there. My Faith Unfolded is here. Howdy, howdy.
Hello. Just let me know when you're ready and everything's set up. I don't want to start.
I'm just going to check the chat and make sure everything's good. Hey, Andrew. And Faith Unfolded. And then I'm going to actually take this link back off. Remove link. Because I don't need to have a bunch of random people trying to constantly use the link this entire time. I'll be right back.
Okay. I'm just going to give you some time to set up. I'm going to stay muted while I wait for that.
And I'm back. As I've said to the rest of the people here, so Andrew Nelson, I'm not accepting other people at the moment. That's why I removed the link after My Faith Unfolded got in the chat. We may be talking to other people here in a little bit. We'll see how everything goes. But yeah, I'm ready to start.
Oh, so is it just going to be us two talking to each other?
Yeah, for now.
So is Dustin or anyone else going to be joining in later?
Dustin's had a hard time getting onto our calls. I didn't bump into him. I haven't actually bumped into him for a while, so I have to check up on him. Ryan does not like dealing with these matters. So quite frankly, I'm the guy. But at the same time, I'm also the guy who manages the channel and has the most ability to answer these questions. So if it's our channel related, you talk to me anyways. If it's going to be something about somebody's personal life, well, that's their personal affairs. They don't have to give anything. So
yeah, that's what I was going to go into, because last stream you said you didn't want to talk about Dustin's personal behavioral things. So that is some of the stuff I wanted to get into closer to like middle to end, and then go along with chat or however else that's going to go. Yeah. So I was kind of hoping that they would be here, but I get that. So I'm pretty sure you are read up on what you believe. I don't think Ryan needs to be here for you to be able to accurately tell me all of that stuff. I just want to make sure. Okay. Let's see here. Let me send this link to a few people so they can because they wanted to watch really quick. So I'm going to do that.
I'm curious, what is your motive? Just so we can all know, because I'm not exactly sure what your motive was going to be tonight.
One moment, and I will answer that question. I'm trying to get the link out to a few people. Okay. Last time, I don't believe I explained my motive correctly, and I still don't know if I will be able to. But basically, I just want to go over things biblically so we can I can get a bit of understanding about your channel. And then I could also get some more biblical understanding of the behavioral issues and some of the statements that you have made. Just stuff like that. We're going to be going over a lot of that. I just want to understand more of your beliefs, because before we start this, I have everything written down in a Google Doc. So this is where I want to start. Before we start, can we agree to keep this a calm conversation, as people's feelings can and likely will get hurt, and I don't want to turn this into an argument of sorts. I would like to keep it a nice and calm conversation.
I would love to. I'll agree to that.
Okay. So, to start, I want to get a brief intro from you and a rundown of what you believe. If you would like to start.
Okay. So our channel takes a very strong stance on, if we're going to be working together, we all have to believe the same things. I actually have a Google Doc I can pull up to cover our basic beliefs, if I can pull it up in a quick enough time. We use this for like interview questions and stuff. So I don't know if I'm already logged in. I'm probably not at the current moment, which would suck if we are not. Just give me 2 seconds. Okay, so I would say, first of all, we believe that if you're going to take a proper stance in the Bible and in Christianity, then you better have a book that you can point to. Now, this is more my opinion than Tim's. As long as you can point to a book, I'm happy to talk to you. Tim and I both agree that the King James is the book that you should point to, though. So we do tend to lean towards KJV only. If you're watching something on our channel, we're going to be reading out of the King James version. If you read out of something different, in my opinion, that's okay. But don't try to put your own doctrine upon the Bible. We're very strict about that. 2, we believe in a 6-day creation. And on the 7th day, God rested. We take a very kind of literal approach to the Bible. Nothing you haven't heard before, probably. We believe that Christians are supposed to disciple other Christians. We're supposed to share our faith. We're supposed to share it with Christians as well as unbelievers. We believe that we have free will. None of this predestination stuff. When it comes down to, well, yes, God knows what you're going to do, but God allows you to do it anyway. Let me see. Once saved, always saved is another really big one. We believe that once you've truly given your life to Christ, then, that's not going to be taken away from you because you sin. We also believe in the Trinity. I don't really feel like I need to explain that one too much. It's a very popular, known thing. I would say there's a couple more, but I'd say those are like the big ones, that if you wanted to know what type of channel we are, those are the things I would point to first.
Okay.
Any questions?
Okay. So I've heard that you are a dispensationalist. Can you explain what that is to me exactly?
Well, so Tim likes to use fancy words. Describe the word to me so I fully understand, because I don't use the high vocabulary that he does.
Okay. Let me look up dispensationalism. It is a Christian theological framework that views history as divided into distinct periods in which God interacts with the world in different ways. So, like, You would have
Okay.
creation, Noah dispensation, Paul dispensation, Jesus dispensation, all that stuff.
Yeah, so I would say particularly when we refer to like the Old Testament versus the New Testament, the God specifically acts through a lot of strict laws in the Old Testament, and then he switches gears when Jesus comes and he focuses more on, okay, now I've died, I've paid for your sins. The law has been fulfilled, not destroyed, but fulfilled. It is no longer the taskmaster, but something you've been set free from. Now, if you love me, obey me. Instead of kind of like the old one, which was like, obey me or go to hell. So, yeah, I mean, I think there's lots of evidence to prove the idea of Jesus treats his people differently as time progresses.
Okay, I would say that argument is fair. I'm a bit confused why I was told that you believe in dispensationalism unless you have extra beliefs. Because obviously you have the old covenant and the new covenant, but do you have extra like time frames that you believe are different, or is it just those two? Because then that wouldn't really be dispensationalism.
I mean, Jesus treats different people differently throughout the Bible. I wouldn't say that's his people, but I mean, that's according to what you just read out as the definition of dispensationalism, which if you read out from Google, which it sounded like you were reading from something,
Yeah, I read it
then
from
I
Wikipedia.
feel like I match that description. We believe that God treated his people differently, especially the most obvious one being the Old Testament to the New Testament. The idea in the Old Testament that you had to follow these rules, and the New Testament that it was paid for, so you don't have to worry about paying for it. Um, there's I know after like there's a whole millennial reign where Jesus comes back and everything. And so like I know that we'll be treated differently again in the future. I'm not exactly sure what that would look like.
Okay, I think I can make an example to make this a little bit clearer, because I'm, again, trying to get some understanding here. One of the examples I was given when I asked someone else about dispensationalism is they said there is also a Noah dispensation where God gave specific commandments to Noah, and that's one dispensation. And then there's another with Paul and Jesus. Those are two separate dispensations. And then you would have one for different people. It would be different commandments that God gives to different people in different times, like dispensations. It's really hard to explain. I was assuming you would know because I was brought up
So
that that's something you believe
we've
in.
we've used the word dispensation in a lot of our doctrine. So like we have the dispensation. No, hold on. Discipleship. Let me see. I think one of these. I actually purposefully don't use the words in any of our core beliefs because I just know that I can't remember what it is. When Tim uses the word dispensation, and I have him
That's a little
clarify what it
worrying.
means so that I can paraphrase. He's never brought up, well, we've had special rules for certain people so that they are exempt. That's never been something we've taught. That's never been something we've tried to explain to other people as a possible solution. Yes, Noah was given direct command to build a boat. No, we're not all supposed to be building boats. Um, but no, we never had a rules for thee but not for me mentality of where, there's different ways that God treats, Noah over his family.
Okay,
It,
and I
it
was trying to grasp the concept, but that's why I'm asking you questions because I don't understand it. I'm trying to get a little bit more understanding, but it seems that we are just going to end up talking past each other if I keep asking questions about it because I'm confused, and it seems like you're slightly confused as well, and we're kind of agreeing on some definitions. So I
yeah.
think we're going to
Well,
move
I'm
on to the
I'm
next
confused
thing.
to why I was accused of it, or if that's what you're saying, because
Well,
we've
we can
used
get
the
into
word
that. Yeah, yeah.
dispensation when referring to some things, not that though.
There is a reason, so I'm going to get into that later. First of all, I kind of want to start this out by asking, what is the gospel? Can you explain to me the gospel start to finish? Like the good news.
Yeah, I don't have an exact script I stick to, but pretty much what I would say is the bullet point of the gospel is the fact that we were given rules. We failed those rules. Romans 3:23, for all have sinned and fallen short of the glory of God.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I can't quote the next verse directly, but it says that the wages of sin is death. And so we've all sinned, and the wages of sin is death. So we all deserve to die and burn in hell. But then it says, but the gift of God is eternal life. So that's where Jesus comes down, lives a sinless life. And then, because we could not pay the price, Jesus pays the price for us. And that's where the verse, it is a gift of God, not of ourselves, lest any man should boast. So that's where I would say, that's where you turn to Jesus and ask him to save you. And that is where salvation comes from, the free gift of Christ. I may have not emphasized something I should have, because again, I don't have an exact script, but that's what
I have a whole thing written out about it, but you got the basics down. I could add more to it, but I think that's good enough. I want to kind of get into the next question of why I'm asking that. So, I've been told that you believe that gay people are going to hell. I kind of want some elaboration on that.
So I've been accused of a lot of things when it comes to homosexuals. This reminds me specifically of a conversation I had with a homosexual at a random park that I bumped into. We were hanging out, we were doing a picnic. He came by, he was hanging out, we were all chatting. And then he said that, well, he was gay. And I said, well, that's an abomination unto the Lord. I said it straight up like that, because I wanted him to know where I stood. And I'm like, I'm not going to hide, behind anything. So he looks at me like, oh, and says, well, I'm sorry, which I've never heard that from a homosexual, but I was like, okay. And I'm like, we can still talk, but I just want to let you know that God does not confirm that. God does not say this is a good thing. And so we got talking.
I feel like calling him a homosexual is a bit dehumanizing, but go ahead.
Well, I'm emphasizing that he said he was a homosexual, and so I'm using the words he
still is a person, though.
He is definitely a person, and he has feelings and a personality and human rights and all of that good stuff, just like anybody else does. And I do want to get into my point. I'm saying he said he was a homosexual, so I referred to him as a homosexual. That's it. I didn't mean anything by it. Moving on, though, I was talking to him about Christianity and how it all works, and he's like, well, but I'm a homosexual, I can't be saved. And I said, homosexuality is a sin. Guess what? You're nothing special. Join the club. The Bible says we have all sinned. I have sinned, and I am worthy of death. There is nothing different between you being a homosexual and me having my sins. I've struggled with porn throughout my life. I have lied. I have stolen. I have cheated. I have done horrible things to people who didn't deserve it. I'm just going to be straight up. I am a sinful person. I deserve death. You don't deserve death as a homosexual any more than I deserve death as any of the things I've done. So, yes, sinners are condemned to hell. Being homosexual is just called being a sinner. It's not different. It's not unique. It's not, this extra class. It's just sinners go to hell, get saved, don't be, condemned to hell anymore. And he actually got saved. I led him through a prayer, and I said, if you want to go to heaven, do this. And I said this specifically. I said, getting saved is not about cleaning yourself up and then going to Christ. It's about going to Christ as you are and letting him clean you up. So I said, you're a homosexual? Fine. Guess what? I am still sinning to this day. I was a sinner when I got saved. Let's get saved, and then let God work on you. I don't even have to work on you. Let God work on you. So he got saved. He said, I still feel the same way. And I said, that's okay. Just read your Bible. Just focus on God, and God will work on you in the right time. So for a good while, he was Christian and a homosexual, because you can be both. You can be a Christian and a sinner. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Trying to figure out how to formulate this next response then. The reason I said the thing about how you were saying homosexual is you could have just said, I was talking to a guy or a person or whatever. It just feels odd to refer to them as a homosexual, even if they say they are one. It's just.
I was specifically pointing out the characteristic for the story we were talking about.
Yeah, you said it once. Yeah. I just feel like it didn't really need to be repeated.
Yeah, I mean, that might just be my dialogue. Again, I've clarified that I didn't mean anything by it. We can pick over our grammar. We can get to the point.
Yeah. Okay.
My grammar's flawed.
The other thing I was going to add to that is I've heard you've also said that black people aren't going to heaven. They're going to hell. So
I don't know where you heard that from. My wife is a lovely Cuban. She's extremely dark-skinned, and she's the most Christian person I know. If you look at our very first episode, it's our trailer episode. My wife's in that. You can see her. She's a Christian and she's black. Her entire side of her family, there's lots of Christians in there and lots of black people in her side of the family, obviously. There's a song. It goes, it may be considered not kosher today, but I'm going to quote it anyways. It says, like, red, yellow, black, and white, they're all precious in Jesus' sight, or something like that. Obviously, red and yellow and all those, it is what it is. But my point is, the Christian doctrine, without being extrapolated into what the Mormons believed at one point and what other groups have believed at one point, if you actually look at what the Bible says let everybody hear the gospel. Let the Gentile hear the gospel. Let everybody. And then there's a point, I think, in what book is it? There's a point in one of the books, I forget, where somebody's preaching to a black
Romans
person.
chapter 10, verse 12, Galatians chapter 3, verse 28, 1 Samuel chapter 16, verse 7, Acts chapter 10,
there's several
verse
places
34
in the Bible
through
where a black
35.
person gets saved. There's one I'm thinking of directly. I can't think of what it is, where this guy is
I don't know if there's a
on the
specific
road.
instance. I know it talks about everyone being equal. And of
he
course, that
sees
could
this
just
like
be my
wealthy
lack of
black
knowledge.
person. He sees this like wealthy black person. He starts talking to him about the gospel. And this guy says, look, there's water. What's stopping me from being baptized right now? And he says nothing. He says nothing's stopping you. And he gets baptized right there. So there's several points in the Bible where a black person gets saved. It's not unique.
Do you know what book
they
that
accuse me
is?
of being racist. My wife is a black person who's, saved and going to heaven. She's more Christian than I am a lot of the time. It's a false accusation. They do that to me.
Do you know what book that's from? Like what you quoted?
No, but I'm sure we could Google it.
Okay. I'm gonna look it up.
Where in the Bible?
Because I don't
the Ethiopian person, it's in Acts chapter 8, verse 26 is what it's saying.
Acts chapter 8.
I can verify
26.
that real quick, make sure it's right. Yeah, Ryan just messaged me, same thing too, saying Ethiopian, saying it's an Acts. That's the specific example I'm thinking of. And I would think, I could be wrong, but I would think Ethiopian people are black.
Oh, yeah. I might start coughing. I might mute for a second.
And if I'm not mistaken, he gets like teleported there to talk to that person, or like teleported away. It's like really weird how the miracle happens just so he can talk to that person real quick.
Oh, yeah. I'm going to run through some more stuff. Again, chat, if you want to ask questions, we're going to go at the end. If you believe that he gets something wrong, weasels out of something, whatever you really want to say, we can go over it at the end. So, I'm going to go through this next thing. This is more so going to be about behavioral stuff that I do not agree with, because I have seen clips of Dustin. That's the one for sure I know. So we're going to talk here. We're going to... Actually, no, we're not getting into the behavioral stuff yet. I'm going to ask you about this first. I've heard that you've used Paul's word over Jesus's before. Is that true?
I'm trying to understand what you're saying. Like, where I credit Paul in the Bible more than Jesus?
Like you've refuted Jesus's words with Paul's words.
Well, the Bible doesn't contradict itself, so I wouldn't really refute anybody's words with anybody else's. The most I've ever done is say, I'm perplexed on what the Bible says about this, and said, one verse over here says this, another verse over here says this. What is the idea, like what is the belief at hand? I wouldn't I wouldn't say that Paul's more accurate than Jesus, but I would also say that the Bible is perfect. There's no contradictions. So it would be nonsensical for me to say Jesus was wrong because Paul said, because that would be saying there's a contradiction in the Bible. So
Raptor, do you want to like?
by my own definition of what I believe, it would be impossible for me to say Jesus is wrong because Paul said something.
Raptor said where you prioritize Paul over Jesus. Can you explain what that means?
It's a pretty blanket statement if you can't say exactly what. Also, Raptor is a very disingenuous person. He's accused of as many random dumb things. Just FYI.
I'm gonna give him a moment to respond. If not, then we really will go into a.
But I can verify with you right now. Both Ryan, Tim, and I, the three main pillars of these shows, we believe without a shadow of a doubt that there is no contradiction in the Bible. So maybe it came off that way, and we weren't meaning for it to come off that way. But no, I would never refute any part of the Bible using another part because I believe there's no contradictions.
Oh yeah. Well, I guess we'll get into this next part while we wait. Now we're actually going to get into behavioral stuff. So, when we see something that isn't a fruit of the Spirit, we are called to gently correct the person. If we want to go to Galatians chapter 6, verse 1, brothers, if anyone is caught in any transgression, you who are spiritual should restore him in a spirit of gentleness. Keep watch on yourself, lest you too be tempted. That's one. Now, the other one I brought up on another stream, the Matthew chapter 18, verse 15 through 17, where it says, if your brother sins, then correct him, bring the church, and if not, then treat him like a Gentile and a tax collector and kick him out. That's the one I brought up last time, so I don't really see the point in re-quoting it.
I am curious. So in that verse, I didn't catch it then, but I'll catch it now. It says to go in private, like with like one or two other people, right?
Yeah.
I don't believe you've tried to privately message me. I believe you went straight to public. That's my personal notice. I'm noticing that. Just like interesting, but it's partly the platform.
Well, I'm saying more so that you should go to Dustin in private and then bring it up more so and more so. That's the point I'm trying to make.
Okay. Well, I have. And I've talked to him about his behavior, and I've corrected it on stream while he's doing it. So I let the entire stream know we don't condone these things. I've corrected him when I see him in the chat sometimes, and I've talked to him in private, and he is improving. If you actually pay attention to the way he acts, I've watched him improve. So no, he's not perfect. Has he messed up? We all do. I've actually gotten contentious on the show once or twice, and just been like really annoyed at something. I know Dustin particularly struggles in that area, but believe me, I confront him privately, and that's why you don't see a lot of it. But I will publicly say there are things that not only him, because I don't want to throw him under the bus, but that I have done as well. And there's been a couple things I think I've even had to correct Tim and Ryan on as well, where I say that's not how we have to hold ourselves up. And I'll correct him in the moment if I see it happening, because if something's done publicly, I want to correct it right there publicly so they know that, hey, we're humans, we mess up, but we shouldn't do that. But then I'll go behind camera and I'll talk about strategizing how we can do it better in the future. So yes, we're humans. We fail. Dustin struggles with this more than the rest of us, but they know how to press his buttons. But Dustin is also working on it harder than the rest of us. It's just habits are hard to break.
I guess I have two-ish things to bring up then. How do I want to bring this up?
Also, I want to point out Dustin doesn't have his own channel for a reason. And it's because he chose himself to exempt himself because he knew that he couldn't handle it in many ways.
I
So
feel like number
very,
one, I would have to
very
have a
big respect for him.
conversation with him to be able to make a better judgment because I haven't talked to him personally. But second off, I was in the stream like 3, probably 4 or 5 weeks ago by now. And it just seemed like he really got mad at people and he was screaming at people. So I don't really see it. And the point I'm trying to make is then you weren't really correcting him like you say you do on stream. Because I don't believe he's been on stream for a few weeks. And I didn't see you correcting him then when he was just yelling at people in the chat, including me, by the way. So I don't really understand.
I don't monitor the chat as closely as I probably should, just because I'm also focusing on making sure the stream's running well, talking to whoever I'm talking to. I trust other people to monitor the chat. So I've corrected him a couple times when I see what he's doing in the chat. But if he was screaming in the chat, yeah, it would be harder for me to recognize and to correct him. Also, I might text him privately and be like, hey, stop. So again, privately, you wouldn't see all that. If you skimmed through our hours of content, I know for a fact you would see several times where I tell him blatantly, hey, stop. However, at the same time, I do appreciate some of the ways that he combats the atheist idea and a lot of these other people because they are not being genuine. And so I like sometimes his more rough behavior. There's a difference between not Christ-like and being like Christ in a very rough way, because Jesus said, you brood of vipers. And so if Dustin says you brood of vipers or something along those lines.
Okay, I have a genuine question then. This is genuine. Would it be okay for him to then call someone an N-word then? Because I feel like that's a slippery slope. Yes, you can say righteous judgment and righteous anger, but you can fall off the deep end really fast with that one.
So 2 things. One, the one time he said the N-word, it's because Raptor coaxed him into
There's like 3 clips I saw.
Well, I've not seen the others, so I can't talk about them. But the one time I know of, I looked it up, I went through the video. Raptor was saying, call me the N-word, call me the N-word. To that moment, I've not seen the others, but to that moment, I went directly to him privately, and I was like, yes, you're technically like good to say that because not only were you not on our channel, so you're just being your own person, but it's also not a bad thing to say. The N-word just means ignorant. If you actually look at the meaning. However, I did say, why though? Again, it's a slippery slope. Why on earth would you say that? Why on earth would you give him the ammo? It's just not smart. And I was like, why did you do that? And he argued his point, and I kind of rebuked him for it. But again, behind private doors.
So you're saying that his behavior was okay in that instance?
So the Bible says that all things are permissible, not all things are beneficial. So he was not being racist. They want to paint him as a racist because of it. He wasn't. He was being, in my opinion, not wise in that one moment, but he wasn't being like a racist, which is what they want to accuse him of. So as I said, it's allowed, but was it profitable? In my opinion, no. And I did talk to him about that. But again, I'm not going to go into the details of what I said to him too much because I'm confronting him by his own. I feel like you want me to confront him publicly on this when the Bible itself says to talk to him privately. And because he is working on it
privately multiple times and you don't see the change, then
but the thing is, I do see a change and he is working on it. And the thing is, I am 10 times closer to you, closer to him than you are. So you're going to have to trust me on this one. We're going to have to move to the next topic.
I'm going to have to bring this up then.
It takes a while to change.
The N-word means that it just means ignorant. Even if I allow you to have that definition, and even if it's true, the definition, when other people hear that word, does not mean that. And it comes with
It
a
is a
lot of
slur.
anger and hatred and a lot of emotions behind it. Even if the definition means ignorant, it still has a lot behind it when you say it, where other people are not going to understand it as ignorant.
Yes, and I understand, and it is a slur, and there's a reason why I talk to him about it, and there's a reason why I don't condone it. Notice I'm not condoning it. Notice I'm not condoning it publicly.
But
Notice I've told you I have privately gone to him, and we've had our conversations.
I don't
As I
understand
said,
how you're saying that it was okay,
as I've
but
said,
then in
please let me
private,
finish.
I told him
Please let me finish.
no.
We're having a calm conversation. I'd like to finish.
Okay.
As
my
I've
bad.
said, we've had our conversations about it. I've done everything biblically that you would want me to do. You don't see the change, and I respect that. But I have seen the change. I'm 100 times closer to him. It takes a while to change. I see his heart. At a certain point, you have to let God judge this, and you have to let his close friends work with him on this. And it's one of those things where at a certain point, it's not your place. And so respectfully, I'd have to say we're not going to go any further with that topic. We're going to move on to the next.
Alrighty, I guess. Well, I'm going to bring up this final point then. When, of course, I had this written down because I kind of knew this would happen. Even if you say that he was baited or wasn't being racist or whatever, it still leaves a bad look on your reputation, which you were talking about. When we look at 1 Timothy chapter 3, verse 7, I'm going to pull it up right now. Moreover, he must be well thought of by outsiders, so that he may not fall into disgrace in the snare of the devil. When we talk about the gospel or the word, we are to have a good reputation. If your reputation is bad and you're trying to preach the gospel, your conversations with people will either only push them away or go nowhere. That's the kind of thing I have. And you also have Matthew chapter 5, verse 16. Let your light so shine before men that they may see your good works and give glory to the Father who art in heaven. Right?
So you're
That's kinda why I'm
exactly
bringing it
right.
up.
You're exactly right. And the Bible even goes further. It says that you should abstain from even the appearance of evil. So it's not even talking about sin. It's saying if it looks like it could be a sin, abstain from it. Here's the problem, though. Jesus, the perfect role model, grew in favor with man and favor with God every single year. Like that's what it says. He grew in stature, in wisdom, favor with man and favor with God. Here's the thing, though. Jesus said himself, if you follow me, you will be hated and people will want to kill you. He then himself, being perfect and upright and abstaining from even the appearance of evil, was murdered and hated upon. I've had people say, if you want us to like your channel, then you should accept Ryan being gay, which, by the way, he doesn't want to be gay, so I don't get what's going on there. That we should be less decisive, right? We should veer away from certain topics. And at a certain point, you have to choose, do I want to be favorable to God or favorable with man? So yes, we should strive to have a good reputation, but also understanding that choosing to be a Christian means you're not going to have a good reputation with everybody, which is why I encourage Dustin to improve, and it's why he is improving, be slow.
But
But it's also why
persecution,
I'm not going to banish him to appease people who will never be appeased with us.
but persecution on the basis of the gospel is different from persecution, if you even want to call it that, on the basis of behavioral issues.
So my point is, Jesus hung out with sinners. He hung out with people who had bad reputations. I can only work on my own reputation. I can only be as upright as I can try to be. And again, I'm a sinner. I'm not saying I'm upright. But I'm saying when it comes to my reputation, I can try to be good. Here's the thing, though. Jesus, perfect reputation, of course, at least for a good while, hung out with sinners. He didn't hang out with the good reputation. Those were the Pharisees. Those were the hypocrites.
But
He chose to hang out with the people with the bad reputations
the sinners
because
weren't
those were the
teaching.
people who needed help.
The sinners didn't have a platform, and the sinners weren't teaching while in sin.
Yes, and Dustin is not teaching on our behalf at the current moment. Dustin is a friend of ours, and he monitors the chat to a degree, and I try to help him monitor the chat. But at the same time, he has said, hey, I'm going to step down from trying to do a show. he himself understood his own parameter and stepped down. So no, he's not teaching. Yeah, he bumps into live streams here and there. Yes, he fellowships with us. Sunday night, he fellowships with us. And he fellowships on other people's shows as well. And he argues with other people on other shows. But as far as our channel goes, which is as far as I have control of, Dustin is his free person outside on the rest of the internet. On our show, no, he's not teaching.
But don't you think it would leave a bad look on your channel to have him in his personal life do bad things, but then to go on here and talk about Christianity?
I could ask the same about Jesus. Doesn't it look bad for Jesus to hang around people who in their personal life they do crap and then also talk about Christianity?
But the sinners weren't talking.
Oh, there's several points in the Bible where a sinner says, come look at, here's a story. I'm going to rewind just a little bit so you have the full details. Jesus sits down by a well. There's a woman who is a whore, for lack of a better word. I can't think of a better word. He asks for some water, something that a Jew and an upright person wasn't supposed to do from her. But she obliges anyways. And he says, I have water that will make you never thirst again. She says, give me this water. He says, go get your husband. He was drawing it out from her. She says, I have no husband. And he says, what you said is correct. You've had 4 husbands in the past, and the one you're sleeping with now is not your husband. And then she goes into town and says, guys, check out Jesus. He's an amazing prophet. You should go check him out. You should talk to him. She pointed people to Jesus. Everybody knew who she was. Everybody knew she wasn't an upright, godly person. But yet she talked about God. She still pointed people to Jesus. God can use a sinner to point to Jesus. And so
But
when we
wouldn't
get
his
to the idea
fruits
of,
point to the
well, should
opposite?
you abstain from hanging out with sinners? I say absolutely not.
But wouldn't his fruits point people away from Jesus rather than to Jesus?
Not everybody's perfect. If the fruits of a sinner point you away from Jesus, then that is a personal heart issue. I bumped into many Christians in my time. Some of them are chronic gossipers. Some of them are very hateful. I've had them cheat me. I've had them use me. There's been times when I've wanted to leave a certain church because of it. I never leave God, though. And if you do, then there's something wrong with either your logic or your heart. Because
what about the people who aren't Christians and see it happening?
And faulty. I'm sorry?
What about the people who aren't Christians and are thinking about getting into Christianity, but then they see the terribleness or the hypocriticalness of a lot of Christians and then turn away?
Well, first, yes, we shouldn't be so hypocritical. And that's where I say, notice that Dustin is not perfect, which should be a testimony. He's not perfect, and it's okay that he's not perfect. But the other Christians around him still love him. If you were a horrible sinner and you were thinking about Christianity, would you rather want to go to a bunch of goody two-shoes who were always perfect and would sneer at you and disown you every time you messed up? Or would you want to be around a bunch of Christians who said, hey, I've been there too? I would much rather prefer the second one. And even though we're not perfect, that's the whole point. We're not perfect. I'm not going to pretend to be. I'm going to try to be as upright as possible, but I'm also going to turn around and say, I'm chronically addicted to porn. And I'm working through it. And there's certain things that I can talk about, and there's other places that I fail at. That's why I refuse to be a pastor. Because I know that that's not my place, at least not right now. But I'm also not going to pretend to be some, image of perfection.
Okay, I had to think for a second. Sorry. I did not
You're
hear the
fine.
last thing you said.
I was pretty much just saying that I'm messed up like the rest of them. I fail. I'm not going to pretend to be some image of perfection. The idea is that we aren't perfect, but we strive towards God. And that means that we love our brothers who aren't perfect and strive towards God. And no, Dustin doesn't have a show where he teaches, but he is loved and cherished by us.
I don't want to keep going in circles, but I guess I'll ask it this way. When we look at Matthew chapter 5, verse 16, let your light so shine before men that they may see your good works and give glory to your Father who is in heaven. I mean, you're platforming someone who obviously doesn't show the fruits in front of people, especially in front of criticism, and that leaves a bad name on his reputation. In the personal life, it leaves a bad name there. I mean, when people see that, it leaves a bad taste in their mouth, and it could even push people away. That's just kind of the point I'm making. I get saying that we're all sinners, but platforming them, I feel, is a different issue when it can lead to the gospel just falling apart, when it can lead to hypocriticalness, or it can just push people away. That's the biggest thing. The other two are kind of
So
lesser than that.
you got to understand the difference between platforming and acknowledging. So, well, let me put it different. Platforming, like showing that somebody exists and letting them speak, and agreeing with. Bryce Crawford had this issue. He talked to Kenneth Copeland. A lot of people disagree with him. And people were freaking out. They were like, "How could you let Kenneth Copeland onto your show?" Bryce Crawford doesn't necessarily agree with Kenneth Copeland. He simply talked to him. It's the same thing here. I let atheists onto the show. I've talked to people who hate God with a passion. I've talked to people who are, living in sin and loving it. I talk to all these different types of people. Technically, yes, I'm platforming them, if you want to call it that. But I'm not approving of it. The Bible talks about several situations where, like David, how he's, stole Bathsheba, or Solomon, who, even though he was the wisest person, thought with his groin, or Samson. Good grief on Samson's part. That's a whole story in its own. The Bible talks about several people who sinned. It does not say that the Bible agreed and approved of, but he did platform these people. He platformed, you could say, King Herod to a degree. Or what the Egyptians did when they killed all of these Jews or enslaved the Jews. He platformed the Jews' own sin throughout the wilderness and in Egypt and a bunch of other times. Showing something existing is not the same as approving of something. Dustin exists, and we love him, but we don't approve of everything he does. Just like I exist, and I'm definitely being platformed on here, but not even I agree with
Then
everything I do.
why give him a space where his sin is, number one, going to be increased by a lot of people yelling, or as you say, baiting? Or why put him up here when you know it's going to happen, when you know something bad is going to happen when he's up here? I don't see why you're going to, I'm just going to say platform because that's the best word for it, keep him back on the streams. And you are platforming him by keeping him continuously on streams. I can get like having him muted on the stream or something, and you two are just talking back and forth. Even that would make it worse. But you know it's an issue he has. So why are you continuously bringing him on for it to keep happening?
One, I don't outcast people because of issues. If they are truly repentful of it, then you don't outcast them. That's the big difference.
Well, I'm not saying to
Two,
outcast him. I'm just saying don't give him a platform for his sin to be multiplied across
two,
people.
I platform people like Iron Gullet and Sable. They are way worse. They get Iron Gullet gets way more angry. It is not about me agreeing with everything they do. I do want to point out that I'm going to keep answering the same way because you're asking the same question, just slightly different worded. You're not going to change my opinion on this. We can agree to disagree, and you can say that I'm wrong here. But at the end of the day, you have to look at Jesus as a role model. He talked to, he people. He showed himself around these people. He existed around them. He wasn't afraid to have dinner with these people oftentimes, or to talk to them in a different way. that's the way I interpret how Jesus was, and so that's the way I'm going to reflect it.
Well, I'm not going to cast judgment and say he is or isn't repentful. That's not for me to say. That is most of the stuff I had on my list that I wanted to bring up. Bit more issues towards the end, but it's just going to be an agree to disagree on the rest. Are we going to open the lines and allow more people to come in here so we can have better conversations, so I can have someone talking and I can bounce off a little bit now that I'm kind of out of stuff? Or are we going to go off of chat? How are we going to continue this?
We can definitely take some questions from chat. I think I will put a link out there now that we've had our moment. I will say this, because people say, oh, I crash out too easily. If you are disrespectful, yeah, I'm going to end the show really quickly. My Faith Unfolded here was not disrespectful. He disagreed with me and he stayed on the show. He brought up some very valid points. We got to chat them out. Be respectful and I'll let you on. Otherwise, I have a zero tolerance for verbal bashing.
If people are going to join, make sure you guys keep it a little bit tame. We don't really want this to end, so just be mindful if anybody's going to join in here or try. That's what I was going to say before we do this. Just be mindful. Actions can have a lot of consequences in this situation. So if you guys are going to come up here and help bounce off the conversation, bring up some stuff, just be calm and collected and cool about it. The link's in chat. I'll bounce off of some of your guys' stuff if you want to talk about it. I'll just be here because that's how this is going to continue.
And do be clear, I really like this episode, but I'm not going to do this again. I got other things to do. I'm not going to defend my actions that much. I'm just going to keep moving on with what I feel is right.
I believe I got most of the answers I wanted out of the conversation. I do believe. There's some stuff, again, we're going to disagree, but there's nothing we can really change about that.
I'm going to let them in one at a time.
Jeremiah, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
All right. Real quick, I just need to ask you something. You said earlier that you were okay, or not okay. You said earlier that you kind of were, or kind of enjoyed Dustin's like rough around the edgesness. I don't know the exact words you said. You enjoyed how rough he was. So are you saying that you, like, this is the only question I'm asking. Are you saying that you're okay with him saying the N-word sometimes?
No, I would prefer that we never said the N-word because society can't handle it. And there are many things about him that I would prefer he doesn't do ever. However, there are some things that I do enjoy about him. Just like anybody, there's things you enjoy and there's things you don't.
Okay, well, that was really the only thing I was going to ask you, so I'm going to get up out of here. You should let somebody else that's more interesting than me on.
Okay. Next was it Iron God or... I don't know if they're missing this around. I'm just going to go at the top of the chat. I'm not paying too much attention to the line. Sorry.
They're back. That's the same person. Oh, wait, no, it's not. Oh, wait,
I was looking at
stream. They're muted.
Iron Garlic, can you unmute yourself?
All right, there we go. You hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, so you said there were no contradictions in the Bible?
I personally believe there are no contradictions.
Can I read you one?
Sure.
All right, in 1 Samuel 13, 19 through 22, during Saul's reign, not a single sword or spear were among the Israelites. And then in, like, right beside that, it says that they defeated 120,000 swordsmen with their own weapons. So, like, doesn't that seem contradictive?
Well, let's read it. So, you said 1 Samuel?
1 Samuel 13, 19 through 22.
Okay. 13?
And I'll give you the second one.
And you said verse 19?
19 through 22.
19 through 22. I'm going to read out a King James Version. Now there was no smith found throughout all of the land of Israel for the Philistines. For the Philistines said, lest the Hebrews make them swords and spears. But all of the Israelites went down to the Philistines to sharpen every man his share, and his coulter, and his axe, and his mattock. I imagine that's a sharp, pointy thing.
A mattock's like a pickaxe.
Okay. Yet they had a file for the mattocks. And for the coulters, and for the forks, and for the axes, and the sharpen the goads. So it came to pass in the day of battle that there was neither sword nor spear found in the hand of any of the people that were with Saul and Jonathan. But with Saul and Jonathan, his sons were there found, and the garrison of the Philistines went out of the out to the passage of Michmash. I don't know. I'm dyslexic, so I can't read good anyways. So I don't see a contradiction there. It's saying
No,
that
we're not
the
there. We're not
people
to the
went down to
contradiction
the
yet.
Philistine camp to sharpen their weapons.
We're not there
The
yet.
people among
Jeremiah,
Saul
we're not
didn't
there
have
yet.
weapons other than his sons.
We're not to the contradiction yet.
Okay, so next chapter, I guess, 14.
No, it would be Judges 20 colon 2, 15, 17. 2, 15, and 17. Where they say they are fully equipped and win a battle against 120,000 swordsmen.
Okay, so you said Judges. Judges what?
Judges 22, 15, and 17. Chapters 2, 15, and 17. Or lines, whatever. However they organized that book.
You said Judges chapter 22?
Judges chapter 2, verse 15 through 17.
2 verse 15.
To be
Okay.
fair, this says chapters 2, 15, and 17, not through. So if you just want to go to those specific ones.
So, chapter 2, verse 15. Wheresoever they went out, the hand of the Lord was against them for evil. As the Lord had said, and as the Lord has sworn unto them, and they were greatly distressed. Is that what you're talking about?
No, Judges chapter 20, verses 2, 15, and 17.
Chapter 20, verses 2. And the chief of all the people, even of all the tribes of Israel, presented themselves in the assembly of the people of God for 100,000 footmen that drew swords. Now the children of Benjamin heard that the children of Israel were gone up to Mizpah, then said to the children of Israel, okay, you said 15 and 16?
15
Right?
and...
Verse 15 and 16.
Hold on. I lost my spot. Let's see. It was 2, 15, and 17. So you could just go to 15 while I find the other one.
Okay. And the children of Benjamin were numbered at the time out of the cities 26,000 men that drew swords beside the inhabitants of Gibeah, which were numbered 700 chosen men. Among all this people, there were 700 chosen men left-handed. Every one could sling stones, and the hair braided and not miss. 17. And the men of Israel beside Benjamin were numbered of 400,000 men that drew swords. All these were men of war.
So you
So
see,
you're
it
looking
says... Go ahead.
You're looking at two completely different instances. It's not the same part.
But it says they were not armed. There was not a sword in the land of Israel. And then all of a sudden they're well equipped and fighting battles. Like, that's a contradiction. It didn't explain that, oh, actually it changed and then they got swords. So you asked for a
Well, it's
contradiction.
just
there.
painfully obvious. You're looking at a completely different book, talking about a completely different situation.
It's not. It's not a different
Um,
situation.
First Samuel what?
It was First Samuel 13, chapter 13, verses 19 through 22.
I've not like immediately read this or anything, so I'm trying to just like think of what I
have 50
remember.
more. I found a list of contradictions.
Well, we're
That
gonna
was
let
just the
somebody
easiest one
else
to look
in,
up.
so you get your one. But sorry, I just made a mess trying to open something for my wife. What I'm getting at is you're just looking at two different examples. The children of Israel went through battle after battle after battle. Eventually, pretty quickly, they got weapons. As I was saying, they were preparing their weapons. The people left Saul to sharpen any weapon they had. Now, in referring to Judges, they have swords. Like,
Yeah, that's a contradiction.
this is not a contradiction, though. They're different battles.
But it's the
Anyway.
same people. So, okay,
I'm-
you're just going to ignore it. I understand, man. That's fine. Do you like my flag, by the way?
No, I disapprove of it. If
Yeah,
you're
you're a
trying
loser,
to
I know.
refer to the
You're upset because
you're
you don't
trying-
like it.
see, this is the disingenuous people.
How is
I
that
have to deal
disingenuous?
with.
You call gay people about.
And that's when I remove them. I'm not trying to ignore the case. I'm simply saying you're talking about two different instances. It's very obvious. People, the same group of people, cannot have a sword at one point and then have a sword at another point. I don't see how that is the contradiction.
I haven't read these books. I have no input.
You've not read Samuel or Judges?
No, I'm not too deep into the Old Testament.
Yeah. I really like lots of parts of the Old Testament. What I've found is there's an excessive amount of battles. There's not one battle. There's like hundreds of battles in the Old Testament. I'm not exactly sure which one this is, but yeah, they're raising an army at this point. So
I was trying to see if it was two separate battles, but I don't know.
well, when you start to get massively different details, like he's just pulling up because somebody said it was. He's not actually doing the research for himself. There's like hundreds of battles in the Old Testament. If the description is massively different, then you're probably talking about a different battle. So this was them going up against Gibeah, right? The Benjamins going up against Gibeah. If I actually go back, let me just look up real quick. Samuel chapter 14. What verse was it? 19 something? Let me see. The Philistines. He's going up against the Philistines. I'm not 100% sure if the Philistines were in Gibeah, exactly what that was, but I'm just saying, like, it looks like they're talking about completely two different places, two different battles. And this wasn't saying that the Israelites had no weapons. It's saying the Israelites left Saul to go sharpen their weapons, so that the people left with Saul had no weapons. To be clear, they're saying everybody with a mattox and a fork and anything went to go sharpen their weapons, so that the people left with Saul, other than Saul's direct kids, had nothing. That's what it's saying. Not that they were completely disarmed.
Yeah, I got no clue. I'd have to read through both of these.
Anyway. But again, we're trying to talk about, I guess it was kind of relevant. We're trying to talk about, I guess, my beliefs and people's problems with them and the way I carry the ministry and people's problems with it. I don't know. Again, I'm only going to do this once. That's today. I'm going to let the next person in. Howdy.
Hello?
Hello.
I can hear you.
Can they hear us?
I heard you. Can
I
you hear us?
you. Yeah, I can hear you. Sorry. Hi. I was wondering, Jeremiah, why you said it was okay that Dustin called both my friend and my girlfriend the N-word on several occasions.
So let me be very clear. I tried to correct him on it. I don't think it's okay. Is it permissible? Is different though.
Can you define
wasn't-
permissible?
Yeah, how is it permissible?
That's a good question. So I guess one, under the American law, it's freedom of speech. Two, under trying to be a Christian, right? What sin did he break?
Wait, are you,
He wasn't being racist. Now, yeah, he
Yes,
was.
he
using
was. He
a
was very
slur,
being
but he's
extremely racist. I was in the call when he did it. Like, he was being extraordinarily racist to them. He also threatened to sexually assault my friend, but that's a different topic.
I saw that. He did not. He straight up didn't.
He was going. He said he would fuck him after he knocked him out. That's threatened sexual assault, Jeremiah.
Well, every instance I've seen has been otherwise. The instances I have not seen, I cannot talk about. So that's where I'm going to have to leave it, because I don't know about the things I don't know about, and I can't defend the things I don't know about, because a wise man listens to something before he judges it, and if I haven't been able to listen to it, I can't judge it. So
But you
I'm
can
trying
say
to
that
stick
it's
to
not okay to say the N-word under any circumstance. Just like it's not okay if I say faggot, even though I am gay.
See, that's the thing, is it can be beneficial to say a slur in certain circumstances. I may
Yeah,
not be
if
able
you're
to give
part
you...
of if you're part of the marginalized group that slur affects, it's called reclaiming it.
Yeah, that's called stupid.
oh,
With all due respect, calling your friend a slur or by the old definition, an ignorant person, I would never do
The
that to my
N-word
friends.
has never meant ignorant person. That's
The
a
original root of
misconception.
that word is that. But the thing
No,
is, I
no,
would
it
never
wasn't.
call my friends that. I would never go to my friends and use a slur to address them. That's just
Well, that's
dumb.
because you're a cis-het white man. Like, of course you wouldn't. Like, you're not a part of any marginalized
Are you
group.
stereotyping me? I thought that was what the bigoted people do.
No, I'm not stereotyping you. You're heterosexual, correct? You like women, and you're a man. Yes.
Well, you're saying that the reason why I do something is because I'm a cis white man.
Well, you don't have that experience of being oppressed and reclaiming that word and the sense of pride that instills.
I and My Faith Unfolded just talked about the oppression that Christians deal with. So
why am I getting roped into this?
I'm not going to talk about that at all.
So the oppression I
do-
do deal with, you're going to ignore.
I don't see it. That's just the thing. I don't see how Christians are being oppressed.
Do you know how aggressively I would be attacked if I said something along the lines of, I don't see how, like, black people are being oppressed in America?
Well, yes, but black people are being oppressed. It's very obvious and clear that they are. There's systemic oppression.
Well, yeah, and I would
There's
say
no
it's very
laws
obvious and
or
clear that
anything saying
true
that
Christians
people
are being
can't be
oppressed.
Christian. There's no laws or anything saying that you can't be Christian or you can't practice your faith.
And
Can
there's
I-
no laws that are enforced in America talking about how black people aren't allowed to do things. If anything, there's many laws saying that black people are protected in special areas where white people aren't.
Yes, because there's no need to protect white people in those areas because white people made it so that black people were excluded at the beginning. So those
Actually, I would say
protections are in
there's
there
been a
to make
very big
sure that
problem.
those excluded groups are included.
I would say there's actually a very big problem where certain groups and organizations have had to focus so much on including black people that they've started excluding the mass majority of the population because of it. Now, that's
Do you have
less
an instance
about
of this?
that's less about personal feelings about race and more just about statistics. But do you have an actual query about us? Like, do we want to go back to the whole N-word thing, or what exactly are we getting at?
Can I ask a
Or
question really
Yeah,
quick?
go for it.
Can you define what permissible means? You gave like reasons it would be, but you didn't define the word.
So
Ooh,
I
thank you.
was yes, that's a good way to bring it back. So I was saying there are different forms of permissible. There's the law, which is freedom of speech. But then I also said, like, permissible under, like, what would God have us do? And I said, where did he sin? And that was where we all went crazy and started talking about, everything all at once. So I'm saying my personal opinion, and we can agree to disagree because Dustin's not here to defend himself. My personal opinion is, I know Dustin, he's not a racist. He
So
says
does
some things
permissible
sometimes
mean
that I
allowed?
disagree with. If you let me finish. He says some things that I disagree with, but the word itself is permissible under the Bible, under the law. It's permissible. It is okay to do. Nobody's going to shoot you down for it, at least legally. However, There's a big difference between if something's permissible and good. It is permissible to throw all your money away. It is not beneficial to you.
Well, yes, it is. While there are no laws or anything saying that you can't use hateful slurs towards somebody, there's still the social ramifications of being an obviously hateful person.
Can
Yeah,
does
but that's
per-
not the law. That's not permissible or not. That's just called a good idea or not. And
does
I agree with you.
permissible mean
Bad idea.
allowed?
Huh?
Does
Yeah.
permissible mean allowed?
That would be my general understanding of the
It
word.
is a close general understanding. Words are different for a
Okay.
reason, but yeah, I would say permissible, allowed. You can interchange them.
Okay, so yes, you
Wow.
do think it is allowed that Dustin calls someone the N-word. So you are okay with it.
No, something can be allowed, and I'm not okay with it. For example,
Okay, so do
abortions
you
are allowed.
do you personally condemn Dustin for saying it?
I have said several times, I wish he had never said it. I don't like it being said on our channel. I don't like that he said it. I've said
Okay,
that
but-
so many stinking times. Now, condemn
Mhm.
might be a strong word. Like, I'm not exactly sure what you mean by condemn, but I
Well, condemn
massively
would be
disapprove of
to
it.
more or less sorry, excuse me. Condemn would more or less be like, say no, that's not a bad thing, and then stop platforming him. Or in the case of like, I condemn like anti-Semitism, I actively try to fight that. Or anti-racism, I actively try to fight racism.
Well, so there's a difference between condemning somebody and not platforming them. For example, let's take a very obvious one, right? I condemn abortion. I think it's a horrible thing. I think if you agree with the idea that abortion is good, then you
Which I
are
do.
blatantly wrong. That's my opinion. Here's the thing, I condemn them. I had an entire series where for several months I platformed people who disagree with me about the topic, and I condemned them to their faces.
Yes,
So,
but there's
to
a
be
little bit of
very
a there's a
to be
difference
very
between.
clear, let me finish. To be
Go ahead.
very clear, there is a difference between condemning and not platforming. I can condemn an action without condemning a person, too.
This is true, but there's also a difference between a hateful speech that's been historically used to marginalize and discriminate against somebody and a medical procedure. You do
I mean,
understand
you can
that, right?
call it anything you want. I could say
It
murder,
is a medical
murder
procedure. It is a medical procedure. It is healthcare. It is what it is defined as.
No, it's not health care.
Yes, it is.
Well,
Now, you
under
can call it whatever you want, but again, I
No, if
blatantly
you have an
disagree with that
atopic pregnancy, you need to have that. You need to have that pregnancy aborted, or you will die if you are the pregnant person.
There are some exceptions, but that's not what I'm talking
But that's
about.
still
I'm talking
that.
about,
No, that's abortions. That is health care. Yes, you
I
may
am
be talking
talking
about
We're getting
the
off
one.
topic.
90% of abortions where
I
the
actually wanted to bring
reason
it
for
around
the
to this.
abortion is they don't want the baby. That's it. The baby is
No.
healthy, the
Maybe a little
mother is
bit of a
healthy, we don't
mediator.
want it. That's what
Okay,
I'm
so-
talking about. I will excuse the others. I will excuse the rape. I will excuse the, they're not going to make it out alive situations. I will excuse all the ones for those for sake of argument. I'm specifically talking about the mass majority of abortions, which is it's going to make my life suck because I don't have enough money or I don't want another baby or XYZ, and they use it as a form of birth control. That's what I'm against. That is
No,
the thing that I am most blatantly against.
the vast majority of women who get abortions, or let me rephrase that, the vast majority of pregnant people who get abortions aren't doing it because it would make my life easier, X, Y, or Z. Well, one, some of them are for financial issues, which I don't see how that's a problem. Would you want a baby to be raised in abject poverty? I don't think so. I personally wouldn't. I was raised
To
in
oppose to
close to
killing it,
abject.
yes.
Well,
I would rather the
at
government
the point,
give food
well,
stamps and all these other programs and churches help out and all that whatnot than to say, well, it's not going to have a really nice life, so let's kill that baby.
I think that
Anyways,
is.
we're trying to get back to the topic of what exactly? Whether
I
it's
actually wanted
permissible
to
say
bring
the
it
N-word?
around eventually to abortion if I was around long enough. I did at least got you to say you condemn saying the N-word. So thank you for that.
Yeah, I condemn people saying the N-word, and I would say I
Okay,
condemn
beautiful,
anybody
thank
who uses the N-word.
Okay, we can agree with that. That it is a bad thing, and see people who use slurs in a hateful manner are bad people. Because I would think if you're a hateful person, you're not necessarily a good person.
I mean, we're all bad people in general, and I would say someone who does one bad thing doesn't make them a bad person.
No, but
I mean,
we
how
do it
many
in
people use
but repeating
slurs?
the same, repeating the same behavior does kind of tend to point towards being a bad person. And
I'm
to
just saying, I know many people who are generally quote unquote good people and like will take care of you and help you out if you're in a tough situation, but will also cuss like there's no tomorrow and use slurs like there's no tomorrow.
well, cussing I
So
don't see anything wrong with, but using slurs, that there is a problem with that.
when I'm saying slurs too, like, and again, I'm saying Dustin's not racist. You may disagree with me, but I'm saying, particularly when it comes to slurs, I'm not going to title somebody a bad person in general because they used a slur.
Well, I mean, if you
That's
use
like
it
saying you
once,
stole
I'm
once.
gonna.
Now you're
If
a
you use
bad
it once,
person. Like,
I'm definitely giving you some side eye. But if you continue to use it on several occasions and you say it with some actual hate behind in your voice, I'm gonna kind of tend to lump you in with the hateful people who I do consider to be more or less bad people, at least from the Christian perspective.
I understand that, and that's speculation, and I'm gonna leave it at that.
Um, but another topic I'd like to ask you about, Jeremiah, and possibly you
And for
too, Mike.
sake of letting everybody have their turn, let's make this the last one from you.
Yeah, very. This was my last one. And this also goes to you, Faith Unfolded.
Okay.
What is your opinion on how the Bible condones the enslavement of women?
Ooh.
Because biblical marriage is, by definition, slavery. The woman is property of her husband, and before that, her
Okay,
father.
you might have to explain that part.
Well, the Bible says that a woman is the property of her father, or the daughter is the property of her father until she is married off to the husband, at which point the property is more or less transferred. That's kind of the reason behind dowry.
Can you give me the verse?
I do not have the exact verse in
boy.
in front of me, but it is several times.
Let me see if I can find
It's
it.
pretty much throughout the entire Bible.
I want you to prove your claim because I want to make sure that we don't get it out of context. You're saying that the Bible claims that they are the property. Now, I know that old back then Jewish culture was that women were property, but we must distinguish the difference between Jewish culture, which again, messed up people, versus God's perfection.
Hold on. Did you just call Jews messed up people?
Oh yeah, we're all messed up people. We've all sinned and fallen short of the glory of God. We've all we already went over that. I'm not saying that they're messed up more than any other group,
and
but
the glory of
we're all
God
sinners.
is a little bit different than being fucked up people.
I did
like-
not use the F word to claim
sorry.
what I claimed.
Sorry. Messed up people.
I'm just saying sinful, tainted, however you want to use that word, to be
Okay,
clear.
okay, there's a little bit.
I'm
of
not
it.
saying
Okay.
like deranged psychopaths.
So a couple of the passages, just on a quick glance of where the Bible says that women are property is Exodus 20:17, and then we also have Deuteronomy 5:21, where the text tells a man not to covet his neighbor's wife.
That's not property. That's just good advice and a
His
law.
neighbor's wife, his male or female servants, ox or donkey. Male and female so we're lumping all of that in with the rest of this property.
But it does specifically separate them too, if you notice.
Well, it separates male and female servants from ox and donkeys.
Yeah, it's showing different categories. So the Bible says, I do know this.
Well,
that
those
you
are
are
all
not
in the
your
general
own, that
broader
you belong
category
to-
of possessions.
If you let me finish. The Bible says that you belong to your spouse, but it says it in both ways. It says the man is not of himself, but his wife's.
But the woman
it's also very
is
clear on that. So am I saying that I'm property of my wife? If my
well,
wife is property of me, then I am also property of my wife. So says the Bible.
The Bible also says that the husband has dominion over his wife.
Yes, because you need a leader in the group. That's like saying I'm property of the mayor because the mayor has a leadership over me. Or that that Tim and Dustin and Ryan are my property simply because I have dominion over them. And when it comes to the live streams,
I legitimately can't comment because I don't know where the verses are. I'm trying to look them up.
this is why it's good to memorize the verses. Just FYI, have them hidden in your heart.
Well, yeah, but I don't have verses talking about like.
Well, okay. So here's another one that I just saw. We have Exodus 21:7, where these verses outline the rules for a father selling his daughter into service as a concubine or as a concubine. You
Wait,
can only sell property.
Let me look that up real quick. And if a man sell his daughter to be a maidservant, she shall not go out as the manservants do. Okay, so you do got to also understand the culture and the thing. So first, the Bible never condones slavery in the entire thing.
Yes,
What it does say is, if you're going to do slavery, treat them like people, which was a revolutionary idea back then.
No, it doesn't.
Yes, it does, and saying no, it doesn't actually doesn't prove anything. So by all means, show
Just saying
something.
yes, it does also doesn't prove your point, Jeremiah.
Yes, we're getting there. We're getting there. But my thing is, you're accusing the Bible of saying something. So back it up. My point
Give
is,
me
the
one
Bible
moment to
says.
flip over to those passages.
Let me finish.
Yeah, go ahead.
The Bible
Ronald, go ahead.
says. The Bible says, if you strike your servant, then, like, and a tooth comes out, you shall set them free for that reason. And it goes on and on about things like that. Treating servants like people, releasing them after a certain amount of time, giving them payment, also known as a job if you're paying somebody for work. The Bible also says in the Jewish government as it is, Israel government, he specifically says, when you have a servant, keep them for a certain amount of years and then pay them. AKA, the way they did hiring people back then was for very long contracts. They called it servitude because that's what we translated to. But another way of understanding it would be they hired the person for a while.
Hey, Jeremiah, that first you were quoting about the rules of for punishments of your servant. Could you finish that whole series of verses all the way through
I'll have to look
21?
it up. Give me a minute.
Because it does very clearly state that because the slave is the owner's property.
When you were talking about the husband has authority over the wife, were you talking about Ephesians chapter 5, verse 23 through 25?
I believe I don't have that one.
I can read it out to you.
Please do.
For the husband is the head of the wife, as Christ is the head of the church, his body, and is himself its savior. As the church is subject to Christ, let the wives also be subject in everything to their husbands. Husbands, love your wives as Christ loved the church and gave himself up for her.
Yeah, that is one of the good ones.
Well, and so my point is going, and I have it pulled up now, so I'll read it in just a second. But going back to the whole, wives and husband things, it was actually very pro women for the time period, especially. Like, it was not acceptable what the Bible was saying, and it was revolutionary because the Bible was saying, men, love your wives, which was shockingly a thing that the men didn't do then. And like, you actually see several times where the men had to love the wife the way Jesus loves the church, and Jesus died for the church. And so he's saying, give yourself up. He then also says later on that again, you are your wife's, and your wife's is yours. Like, you have one, you guys, in a sense, you could say own each other, but that's the point, is it's not I own her, it's we own each other, we are one. We are unified.
Could you read me the verse where it says that the wife owns her husband?
I mean, I have
I can
Exodus
pull
chapter
it up.
21 pulled up, but we can pull that one up too.
It's 1 Corinthians chapter 7, verse 4. For the wife does not rule over her own body, but the husband does. Likewise, the husband does not rule over his own body, but the wife does.
So
Yes.
the wife has control over her husband's body, but not of anything else, while the husband has control over everything the wife does.
Well, yes, because you need a leader. If you have two
Uh,
heads, you will die. You need
I-
to have a
My wife
coherent
doesn't need a
decision maker.
leader. She can make
Huh?
her own decision. My wife doesn't need a leader. She's capable of making her own decisions.
It's not that a woman isn't capable of making her own decisions. It's that when you have two people working on a project, you have to have somebody in charge. For whatever reason, God chose men to be in charge of the marriage. I don't know why. God chose it. God built men, he built women. He knows best, I guess. I'm not going to argue why. I just know God
It
chose
was a
it that way.
punishment. It was a pun. It was very
Actually,
clearly a
interestingly
punishment.
enough, it was a punishment. It was only after Adam and Eve sinned that he says, you know, woman, you will submit to your man now. Like, it wasn't even like this rainbow and sunshine thing. It was indeed a part of a punishment.
Huh?
Hilariously enough. But my point is,
That's
God
into a
decided
different
who would be in
argument.
charge. It's not that he is a ruthless dictator. Hopefully he isn't. It's that somebody needs to be in charge. Now, to get back to 21, Exodus 21, now these are the judgments which shall be for them. Basically, in Exodus, we had a lot of rule laying. So there was the culture of the time, there's what people did back then, and then they were making the new Israel nation because they just got out of Egypt, and they started laying down a bunch of laws. If thou buy a Hebrew servant, so see, it doesn't say go buy a Hebrew servant, it says if. If you do that, because right now the laws allow it, 6
Yeah, I
years
mean,
he shall serve,
allowing it
and
is
then in
still
the
the same thing
seventh
as-
he shall go out free for nothing.
But that's only
So
of
he says he
Hebrew
doesn't have to buy
servants.
himself back.
That's of Hebrew servants. It does specify, have rules.
We'll get there. We'll get there. You wanted to read the chapter, we'll read the chapter. But my point is, so it does say Hebrew servant, good catch. But he says he will go out for nothing. If he came in by himself, he shall go out by himself. If he was married,
is also
then he
only
will
for the men,
leave
by
with
the
his
way.
wife. It goes on there. And servant shall plainly say, I love my master, my wife and my child, then I will not go free. And so he can then vow himself to his boss, but that's the servant's choice. This is all Hebrew servant. And if a man shall be his daughter to be a maidservant, she shall not go out the way the men do. So men and women get different treatment. Women actually get softer treatment.
Women
if
don't
she
ever
shall
get
please-
released. I wouldn't call
Huh?
that softer. The women never
When-
get released.
That's not stated. Either
Exactly.
way,
It states that the men are to be released after a certain time period, but it never states that for the women.
Actually, no, it says Hebrew servant. Doesn't say man or woman. So if she's a Hebrew, these are the rules. She will get released, and she will work for 7, and she will work for 6, and the 7th she will be released. That says Hebrew. So according to the Bible, it specifically states she would be released.
It says he when we're talking about the servant.
No, if thou buy an Hebrew servant, that's what it says. I can't argue that. That's what it says.
Okay. But anyway, continue.
Let me see. Verse 7, I believe, is where we at. Maidservant, she shall not go out like the men servants do. So for her 6 years of labor, she doesn't have to do the same manual labor that the men do. If she pleases not her master, who hath betrothed her to himself, then shall he let her to redeem, to sell her unto a stranger nation. He shall have no power, seeing he hath dealt deceitfully with her.
So yeah, women are when that is saying women are property of the man or her master.
So they're talking about the contracts. If they're sold into this servitude, then they, if he has dealt deceitfully with her, then she gets sent away. Basically, the contract's broken. Again, it's you got to remember the culture was different. It wasn't property. You were 6 years, then you were released, and it actually says later, I believe, you got payment.
For that is specifically Hebrew servants.
Yes, and we are going through the Hebrew, and we're going to address the other one if it addresses it. Right now, we're looking through what it's saying. I'm not trying to jump the gun too much. If he take him another wife, her food, her raiment, and her duty to marriage shall not be diminished. And yeah, that's the other thing. Is like they had several wives back then. And it says if. So there's lots of things.
I don't see a problem
it's not
with
saying you
having
should
multiple
do
partners.
this. It's not recommending it, but it is saying that these things were permissible. And if he do not these unto her, then shall she go out free without money. So pretty much, if he does not respect her and do his duties, then she gets to go free. And that's the thing. That's actually saying, that's stating, no, not property. You have a duty to take care of this woman, and if you don't take care of her, she gets to go free. If anything, that's arguing against the whole idea of property.
That's not necessarily saying you don't they're not property, because if we continue later on, it does state that the slaves are property.
Where exactly? Do you want to jump ahead?
We can jump ahead a little bit. Let
I'm
me go back to
probably gonna hop out of here. I haven't eaten today, so
Oh yeah, no,
Go
you
for it.
should definitely eat.
yeah. See you guys.
Bye. Thanks for the conversation.
If we jump down to 2021, where the rules are regarding the physical punishments for striking the slave.
Yeah, I can read that.
Yeah, please.
And if a man smite his servant or his maid, so it says both there,
Mhm.
with a rod, and he die under his hand, he shall be surely punished. So it's
So it
saying that
kills
if
them.
you smite your servant and they die, you will have consequences.
Yeah,
It
if
doesn't
you
say
kill
what those
if
are.
you
at the
kill
moment.
someone, you have consequences. Yes.
Yeah, and it's saying man or woman. Notwithstanding, if he continue a day or two, he shall not be punished, for he is his money. So it's saying that he was paid
Money
for.
is property.
It's not property.
Yes. Yes, it
I
is.
have a job. I get paid money. My boss does not own me.
I'm not saying that your job is what owns you, Jeremiah. I'm saying he is his money. So that slave is comparable to money to that person, meaning he owns that person.
No, it's saying that if he dies from not the beating, because you'd die pretty quick from the beating, but it says if he lives on,
Yeah, if he
and
lives
then he
for a day or
dies.
two, there's nothing's there. If he lives for a day or lives after a day or two, and dies on the third day, you're good. You're good.
Yeah, because
that's
if
your
you beat
property.
someone, they normally don't die later on. They die pretty immediate. That's like how you'd prove it. And again, they don't have forensics to know how he died.
Depends on how severely you're beaten and the condition.
You got to
of your
remember,
body.
they didn't have forensics. They don't have the ability to do an autopsy and figure out how he was beaten and what the internal organ damage was. So their way of saying, if we have proof you killed this person, you get punished. If we do not have proof that you killed this person, then you don't get punished. And they're saying he was hired, he was an employee, and yes, back in this time,
It wasn't saying he was hired. At no point does it say he was
employers'
hired.
comp, like workers' comp.
At no point does it say he was hired. Because at this point, we're no longer talking about Hebrew slaves.
As far as I'm aware, it never
We're
switched.
talking about
topics.
Israelites now.
As far as I'm aware, it doesn't switch topics. Can you tell me where it switches topics?
I do not have that directly in front of me of where
Because it would have to be in the same piece of paper right here. It would have to be between verse 7 and verse 20.
Yes, and it is within there that we do swap from Hebrew servants to.
Well, do you want me to go back and read the whole thing?
Let's go.
Okay, so verse 7 was the maidservant, she shall do as maidservant. We did read a little bit further. If he take another wife, we talked about that, verse 11. And if he do not these three unto her, then shall she go free. So it's saying if you don't take care of her, if you don't do these requirements, then she's free to go. He that smiteth a man, so verse 12, he that smiteth a man so that he die shall surely be put to death.
So slaves can't kill their masters.
I'm sorry, what?
Is that basically that's saying that the slaves can't kill their masters? I need something to drink. My throat is extremely dry.
Yeah, let me just reread this, make sure that's what it's saying. And if he do not these three, okay. He that smiteth a man so that he dies shall surely be put to death. It actually doesn't say slave or master. It simply says, he that smiteth a man. So it's saying, if you kill somebody, you will be put to death. That's all it's saying.
Okay. Well, you've also stated that murder is wrong.
Yeah, it's stating murder is wrong. The punishment for killing someone is death. And then it says, and if a man lie not in wait, but God delivered him unto his hand, then I will appoint thee a place whither he shall flee. But if
So
a
wait,
man
hold on.
come,
So that's just said that it's not so you can't pre-plan to kill somebody and like go out and hunt them down. But if they just happen across your path, it's okay to kill them and you'll still be allowed into heaven even if the person runs.
so no, that's actually not heaven. It's called sanctuary. Sanctuary is a law where if you done messed up and you did something accident, you could be protected.
Okay, so basically you could get away with the murder.
Well, so we have something similar to that in our society where we have different levels of killing someone. We have intentional murder, which I think is first degree, but then we have non-intentional murder.
That
for example,
that would be manslaughter.
Yeah, like let's say you got in a car wreck and the person died and it was your fault. You were speeding, you were doing something dumb, you killed that person.
Yes, but that's not what the Bible's describing. It's not describing
well, no, not vehicles. And if
well,
a man
obviously not
lie
vehicles. They
in
couldn't
wait,
have conceived of motorized vehicles back then.
my point is it's saying if he wasn't in wait, if he wasn't strategizing this, if it wasn't this a plan, but God delivered him into his hands. So pretty much, if for whatever reason, you were the cause of the other person's death and you weren't strategizing it, that's all it's saying. It's not saying why you killed him. It could be anything from an accident to maybe self-defense to
It could be anywhere from it's anywhere from manslaughter all the way to first-degree murder.
Yeah, maybe anything up to the idea of you just got really angry at somebody, right?
Yeah, you killed him. You could just kill them out of like crime of passion.
Yeah,
like,
and so it says, and God delivered him into your hands, then I will appoint thee a place whither he shall flee. So it's saying, if you accidentally kill this person out of like, whether it be rage or just a true accident, go to this place, go to this appointed place. And throughout Exodus, it actually does have a bunch of appointed places. Like each part of the nation has an appointed place that you can run to. And if you make it there, you are safe. And you still get held for judgment, actually. But you are judged. You aren't just immediately acted upon. You can pretty much say, court, save me, look into my case, instead of just them serving you justice right there. That's like an entire another chapter if I'm not familiar with it exactly. Yeah, it's saying that he may die. Hold on. Flee. But if a man come presumptuously upon his neighbor to slay him with glee, is that?
Yeah.
Thou shalt take him from mine altar that he may die. So it's saying if he runs to that place of sanctuary, the altar, you can take him from it. So if he killed the person in glee, if he killed the person with intent, you can take him from the altar. You can take him from that safe place, and he may die. So it's saying you run to that place, and then they judge you. They see if it was from, presumptuously or a true accident, and they can rip you away from that altar. They can rip you away from that safe sanctuary. Anyway, so it's being very moral here. It's almost reflecting our own laws in the best ways. And he that smiteth his father or mother shall be surely put to death. And he that stealeth a man.
Yeah, because
I'm sorry?
killing your parents is usually not okay unless they're genuinely abusive pieces of
Well, it's basically stating that nobody's an exception. I mean, we'll get into the slave part in a minute. I'm not trying to say that, but
yeah,
when it comes to like family members and all this, it's not a personal scuffle. It will be, paid for. And he that stealeth a man and sell him, or if he be found in his hand, he shall surely be put to death. So if anything, it's saying if you take somebody into slavery against their will, death. They are not your property. You have to hire them. They have to be consensually put into this. You cannot.
One more time to me.
And he that stealeth a man, so not by consent, and selleth him, or if he be found in his hand, he shall surely be put to death.
So that's saying if you steal someone, how? So
And
how?
sell them. So
Yeah,
into the
and
slavery market.
obviously, or keep them because it does say if you're found with them.
Yes, if you keep them for yourself.
So that would be that the person is property, no? Because you can only steal property. You
So
kidnap
another way of saying would be if you kidnapped somebody.
no, there's
Because
a
that's a way
difference.
of stealing somebody.
There's a difference between theft and kidnapping. That's why we
You
have two
gotta
different words to describe them.
Okay, so maybe they didn't have the word kidnap, and that's like the word they use. Secondly, I think it's very blatantly obvious stealing somebody would be this. Like, if I said, like, let's say I had broken English, right? Let's as an example, and I said they stole my wife. You know, everybody would obviously understand somebody took her against her will. Like, I'm not trying to insinuate that I own her. I'm simply saying somebody took her against their will.
From the Oxford Dictionary, it says the etymology of the word kidnap is from around 1862.
For us.
But this is
I'm saying we're fighting over something petty. It's obvious what they're talking about here.
well, we're arguing over the fact of I think that they're saying that you're stealing a person and another person's property, as in stealing another person's property.
It never says from who, though. It just says if you steal them. From themselves. If you take them against their will. You're really reaching for this idea that
I'm not.
they're
I'm really
property.
not.
I do have to move to the next person. I've spent quite a bit of time on you, and it's getting late. Normally, I end at 9, and I want to get 2 more people in. So I will have to move on. We're not going to be able to
fair.
read the entire Bible tonight.
Yeah,
But
no, that's
my
fair. I
point
understand
is,
that.
my point is, the Bible does not say anywhere, in my opinion, and you can disagree, that women are property to men, that servants are to be property, that it never says it is good to have a slave in the sense that someone you don't pay and they just work for you for free. It never says any of that. That's my my statement.
It does stop. Well, so we may not be able to get to how it broadly condones slavery, but it does outline in Exodus 21:7, where I think we did end up reading that one, where it does outline the rules of a father selling his daughter into service. And again, I think we can agree you can only sell property. But
I
no,
mean,
I'll let you
again, that's
get
your final
out.
statement. We
I'll-
can disagree to disagree. Well, we can agree to disagree.
Yep, we can get out. Please bring someone else up. I do know there's another girl who is very eager to talk to you. But you have a wonderful night. Free Palestine. Goodbye.
Goodbye. I personally love how they have to like throw in some random political message at the end. I'm sorry for the wait. We're going to have to make these last ones fairly quick, so let's stay on point, but I will try to give you a good long time to say what you need to say. You there? I hate that I wasn't able to get to these people earlier. Like, he's probably just AFK at the moment, but I will have to move on to the next person. And by the way, Iron Gauntlet, I see you in there. You're not getting back in. You had your turn. You got to get to everybody else, just respectfully. I'm trying to give this person just a little bit more time. Okay, well, if you come back in with the same username before the end of the show, I'll probably try to sneak you in, but I'm going to have to kick you out. Sorry. Dargesh.
Hello. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. I love the avatar.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. So the thing that I want to talk to you about, I'm going to move away from some of this. I want to go and talk about something you've had a problem with earlier that I wanted to address, but I had no power at the time, so I couldn't get on. You were talking about radiometric dating and index fossils and being a circle. Whenever you were describing it in a way that I only hear creationists and not people who actually understand the stuff use. The people who are intentionally being dishonest teach it that way. So you were saying that we use the layer to date the fossil and the fossil to date the layer, but that's not what we do. You know the actual way it's used?
I have pulled that up on like Google itself.
That's
It is
but this-
one of the ways that
No.
they have tried to find the answers to some of these ages.
we do not use the two of them together. It's not a circle. What we do is, for example, I'll give you an example. We have found a layer of iridium in the Earth that is everywhere on the planet, and we have been able to figure out that iridium is about 65 million years old through multiple dating methods at once, all corroborating the same age range. So, if I find a fossil below that layer, then is that fossil younger than 65 million years or older than 65 million years?
I'm sorry, what did you say the
Okay.
material was made out of?
Iridium. It's the KPG layer. It was used to be called, I forget what they call it now. It's the layer where the dinosaur extinction happened on. Because iridium is very heavily found in asteroids, but very rare on Earth. So a massive layer of iridium that's all about the same age is heavily indicative of a massive asteroid impact. So below that layer, every time that we've tested that layer, it has come out to be right around 65 million years. The only variances are within individual dating methods' margin of error. They all have that 65 approximate million year age range. So if I find a fossil below that layer, what can I estimate the maximum age of that, like the most recent age of that fossil is? What's the youngest that fossil could be?
Well, so you start out with several problems, which is
Like
that you're assuming that you have a way of testing that layer.
Radiometric
you're
dating
going
has
into
been
this
proven
whole idea
reliable.
of, well, we can know that the fossil's so old because of the layer it's in, but then I'd ask you, how do you know the age of that layer? And you just breezed over that by saying,
No.
and I'm not saying intentionally, let me finish. I'm not saying intentionally. I'm not trying to accuse you of anything, but I'm saying you did just kind of state, well, we know the age of this layer. And my whole point is that carbon dating is flawed. I made a whole video on it, so
We
I'm not
don't
going to go
use
into it
carbon
right
dating
now.
for these. This is too old for carbon dating. Carbon dating is maximum 30,000 years before it's unreliable.
Well, a lot of the radiometric dating and those types of things are painfully flawed.
No, they're
and
not.
if you just do a handful of research, you can find pretty quickly where they contradict each other, they start breaking down. And as I said, it's not the circular reasoning. And I responded to you in a comment. I told you it's not the circular reasoning that you said that I said. That's a different thing.
You straight up said we use the layer to age the fossil and the fossil to age the layer, and you said it's circular. That is
I
not
said
the
that,
case.
yes, but I'm not talking about carbon dating
don't-
when I say that.
Don't weasel your way out of this. I'm saying that we do not use circular reasoning when we use these dating methods. You are using methods, or you're using explanations that only creationists use to describe this method. You're trying to weasel out of your own argument that you made.
No, you're trying to connect something that's not true. I
No.
believe in those arguments.
I am
firmly, but my point
using
is, let me
your
finish.
own argument, Jeremiah.
I will mute you if you don't let me speak.
My
point
can you stop
is-
changing your own argument?
Wow, stop. Go away. Wow. Okay, my point was, and I will state it for those who haven't heard it before. There were two separate arguments. One is the circular reasoning that we date fossils by the layers and the layers by the fossils. That is one way, emphasis on one way, that they try to find the dates of things. As he said, there are several different independent ways that we try to date something. So they're not the same. Carbon dating is separate. It is distinct. And I'm not trying to weasel my way out. I'm just acknowledging what their own statements and their own claims. Two, carbon dating is flawed in itself. It does not work. You can find several different examples. You can look up living seal or freshly killed seal, carbon dated, living snail, carbon dated. These things that like are horribly messed up. But there was a textbook I read once. It said, to summarize, when we know the age of something, carbon dating doesn't work. When we don't know the age of something, carbon dating works well. So like, my point is, carbon dating is flawed. A lot of these other radiometric datings and all of those things work off the same premise, and the premise is flawed. And I made an entire video on that. I'm not going to go into now. But you got to understand the argument. You can't just accuse me of something and then knock it down. That's called straw manning. You have to understand my claim. I'm not trying to weasel out of anything. I am clarifying right now so that you can attack me appropriately. I'm not letting you back in because that was your one chance. I got to move on. I got one last person. I'm going to try to get this person back in. It was Beagle Girl. Let me see. Try to... Come on, admit. Did it work? Hello.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Okay, great. Sorry about that. I was having some audio issues. How is your evening going? It sounds like you were on for a little while. Are you there?
Sorry about that. I had to cough. I muted myself and I didn't unmute. Sorry. I've been on for a little bit.
There's been smoky up here where I'm at too.
I've been on since 7:30. I stay on till 9 normally, and then I have to wind down and I have to help the kids go to bed as I am a father, and so
Oh, okay,
I
okay,
have
okay.
parameters I gotta stick to.
Yeah, I understand that. I understand. I don't have any kids right now, but I understand. I guess I've been listening since the very beginning, so I have some just some really quick questions for you. Is that okay if I ask them real quick?
Yeah, fire away.
Okay, so seems like we're just kind of talking about random elements of the Bible. So I wanted to see kind of what your thoughts are on like women spreading words that lead to an empty tomb. That'd be like Matthew 20, I think it's 28:8, Luke 24:9, Mark 16:8, because Mark said it was different. So I wanted to see what that was about, because you said quite a couple things today that I find fairly objectionable.
I'm sorry. What is your claim, to be clear?
Well, so this claim is specifically about women spread the word of an empty tomb. So women discovered the tomb of Jesus and returned to tell others, right? So
Yeah, I believe
the
it was a woman
passages
who
that
found the tomb
I'm
first.
so you know the passages that I'm referring to.
Generally speaking, I'm not too good with like quoting exact verses.
Oh, okay. So that's fine. Do you want to look them up?
I mean, I guess. Yeah. Let me pull it
I
up real
mean,
quick.
if it's too much of a hassle, we can just kind of move on. Because
Well,
there's
I'm
kind of
just
like a
curious what your
really
actual claim
big.
is.
Oh,
Are you
okay.
talking
Like
about
it's
like
just
a contradiction in the Bible? Is that like your main
yes,
point?
yeah. There, I have a question about contradiction in the Bible. I have a question about kind of the same thing you were talking about with Norndo. Or I think Riza it was her name. That I really had an objection about, and then a couple of things you said earlier. So I wanted to be kind of quick about these.
Okay. Well, in my personal opinion, there's no such thing as being quick about trying to discuss a contradiction in the Bible. I'm just going to be straight up with you. Because
Oh,
when you're trying to look at a
mhm.
contradiction, you're trying to look at context, you're trying to look at like what the verse means, you're trying to like dive through because you
Oh,
don't just
okay.
want to
Then we can
pass it
just
up to one or
move
the
on
other.
from that one. Then we can just move on from the
Okay.
contradiction because so real quick clarification. I want to add some extra questions or an extra like level of clarification here. So when you have rules changed in the Bible at all?
So the best way to describe the ways rules changed is it's not that the law was destroyed, it was fulfilled. The law states you have to be perfect to
What
enter
are
heaven. That's just the premise. That's the physics of it. You have to be physically
that's a
perfect.
law?
It's the culmination of the law. The idea is you have to be the essence of perfection to enter heaven because God is perfect, and if you are
Okay,
not
you're
perfect next to Him, you can't
okay. So
physically survive.
is that how we understand law?
I think I'm having a hard time with your question. What exactly are you getting at?
Well, you said it was law, so that's why I'm trying to clarify. Is it a law that we need to follow this? Because if you're using law, you need to like use the Bible to, or I guess the Bible. The Bible. Is
Okay, so
but
you're wanting me to reference why I believe what I do. So in the Old Testament, there's a ton of laws, and God specifically states that He is too holy to be with us, and so that we need to
Okay.
be upright to even enter His presence. That is stated in the Old Testament. That's when they made the tabernacle. Later in the New Testament, it clarifies. So it clarifies that for the wages of sin is death, and it states
Okay.
that it states throughout the New Testament, clarifying on the Old Testament, that
Mhm.
if you have sin, you can't go to heaven because you are no longer perfect, and you need to be
Okay.
perfect
Okay.
to like go to heaven.
Okay. I think I understand what you're saying a little better now.
Yeah. So the individual
so-
laws don't directly say that, but when you pile the entire law together and say, "What is this about?" That's what it starts
So-
saying.
Okay, wait, that seems a little odd. Why wouldn't the individual laws just say that?
It's like looking at a book an inch away from your face. It's hard to read the bigger picture. So it's not going to say after every single
That's
law,
not how we
"Thou
that's
shalt
not how we
not
use
kill,
books though.
here's why." It says it once and then says, "Here's all the
Mhm.
laws."
Okay. All right. Well, I guess that's fine. So I kind of want to ask you if that's the case, since this is how you want to lay out laws. So Numbers 31:17, through whatever. So does that mean that the laws with Moses are different than the laws with anybody else?
Numbers, you said 31.
Yeah, 31:17. Not a little before that, but
31:17.
I think 15 actually is the correct one. 31 through 15 through whatever. So it sounds like you're talking about interpretations of the law instead of the actual law. So I just want to kind of move on to an actual point. So Moses here was said to, or was ordered, I should say, to kill every male amongst the older ones and kill everyone that has no other man.
In a specific
lying with
group, yes.
But in a specific group, the children of Israel.
I'm just wanting to read this for a second. "Avenge the children of Israel, of the Midianites. Afterward shalt thou be gathered unto the people. And Moses spake unto the people, saying, Arm some of yourselves unto the war, and let them go against the Midianites, and avenge the Lord of Midian." Okay, so
Mhm.
the basic rundown is there's a group of people that need to be wiped out, and God says, wipe out these people.
Oh, but they didn't wipe them out. Because it says just after that, take all the children. Oh, excuse me, all the women children that have not known a man.
See. "Yourselves unto the war, and let them go against the Midianites." Let me keep reading that. Because I just want to know exactly what the claim is. "Of every tribe, thousand, without all the tribes of Israel, shall ye send to war. So there were delivered out of the thousands of Israel, thousands skimming forward. And Moses sent them to the war."
Just kind of jump to 15. Well, that's where I started
15.
from.
Let me scroll
You
down
know,
to 15.
Moses
"And Moses
said
said unto them, Have ye saved the women alive?"
Mhm.
Well, that's because
Nope, keep going. You have to keep reading.
I'm saying the reason why he would ask that question is because in war you killed the men, you spared the women and children. So then you
I
have
know
to
you
make a
rape
special
children and then
emphasis.
sell them.
Huh?
That's what it says. This is about selling children into slavery.
16. "Behold, these causes the children of Israel thought the counsel of Baal to commit trespass against the Lord in the matter of Pyro, and there was a plague among the congregation of the Lord.
Mhm.
Now therefore kill every male among the little ones, and kill every woman that hath..." Yeah, so what he's saying is they kept them.
No, read the next line. Keep going.
Which one? 17? Verse 17?
You want to You want to add context. So
No,
we'll just
I'm
move on
fine.
to
If you're trying to make a point
we'll
that I'm
move on
missing,
to
by all
18.
means.
Yeah, 18. but all the women children that have not lain with a man keep alive for yourself. So they didn't wipe out everybody.
Hold
They
on.
just
So
killed-
18 you're
They
saying, but
just
all the women
killed
and
all the
children.
men and women who have no life with men, and kept the children for themselves.
Okay, so first, that's not saying slavery. That could be referring to anything between slavery and adoption, to be clear.
So why
And
would you keep
here it's saying-
Jeremiah? No, hang on a minute.
Let me finish.
Why would you
Let me
keep-
finish.
why
We're
would
having
you keep a
conversation.
child?
You're not just narrating this whole thing.
Oh no, I'm asking. Why would
Let
you
me-
keep
let
a
me make
child
my
that has
point
not
first.
lain with a man?
This is a conversation. You're gonna let me make my
Okay.
point first?
Yeah, please go ahead.
I am
Or is it circle
stating
back?
that I'm going to have to use the force mute just to verify that we can actually have a conversation. My point is that it's saying that the women who have been untouched, so they've not been married, they've not known a man, they've not any of that, and their children, you can keep for yourselves. It did not say slavery. It did not say marriage. I'm not going to assume. What we do know, referring back to Exodus, is that if you steal somebody for slave work and don't pay, then that's punishable by death. That was my point I was trying to get. I'm going to unforce mute you, and then you have to unmute yourself as well.
Okay, that's fine. So these men took these women without paying, correct?
I'm sorry, can you say that again?
These men took these women without paying, correct?
But it's not saying slavery.
Okay, so why else would they keep a woman child that has not lain with a man?
You're saying like the women,
The women
women
children that have
minors that
not
haven't
lain with
lain
a
with a man?
man. Yes, that were kept for, as the Bible says, yourself. So what could that possibly mean?
Well, it sounds like you can adopt a family because it's saying,
Why
It's
only
saying,
women children, though?
huh?
Why only women children that have not lain with a man?
Because the ones that have laid with the men are tainted by those people, and those people had to be removed.
Mm-hmm.
That's
So they
the
didn't
whole
wipe out
point.
the.
Whether you agree with it or not, we're not getting into that right now, but whether you agree with it or
Mhm.
not, the whole premise is those people are bad. We're going to kill them. These people are casualties. They're citizens that, are not part of this war. Save them. It's called mercy.
So the young women children who have not lain with a man, it's merciful to take them for yourself.
Well, the alternative is to leave them in ruins and to fend for themselves, which is going to be really hard.
Well, the alternative was to not start a war in the first place.
Well, yeah, but that's not what this is talking about. The point is they started
yeah.
the war. This is the aftermath, and they're saying, let's save
Mhm.
these people alive.
No, let's be honest about this. Let's save these young girls who have not lain with a man, but not the young men.
Yeah, because men are predisposed to fighting and violence. Women are
Really?
like statistically less so.
Is it just like an extra little bone in our brain that we are servile?
I'm not saying servile, but I'm saying when you think of who's going to retaliate more, who's going to try to avenge their father more, the men are predisposed to more violent solutions. That's just how it
And-
is. Don't blame me for
and
that.
what-
That's like science.
Well, what makes you think that? What you said is this science?
You can find those answers like on the internet. Like that's like psychology. Like men
That's
men
no.
like fighting with sticks. They like guns more. It's just statistics. I don't know why it is.
Is that inborn in the men, or is that socialized in the men?
I mean, now that's when you start getting into theoretical. I would like to say that men have a genetic part of their body that makes them that way, because there's lots of people who try to
and-
make men not that way, and they become that way anyways. I know lots of families that are like, we're not going to teach our kids fighting at all, and the kids start wrestling anyways.
Well, I mean, I've wrestled with my brothers. Does that make me a man?
Generalizations are not the same as the outliers. There are outliers in everything.
The
There are men that's
the
more
exceptions
feminine and
prove
women
the
who are more
rule. though.
masculine. That doesn't prove the point. I'm saying the
Mhm.
mass majority are a certain way.
So the mass majority of women are servile?
That's not what I'm saying. You're trying to
Well,
get me to
that's
say
why I'm
something that I'm not saying.
asking. I'm asking you to clarify.
First, let me clarify servile so I can make sure we're on the same page. By servile, do you mean like predisposed to serving more?
Predisposed to not being, I guess, contentious in your view.
Oh no, women
Predisposed
can be
to
very
not pushing
contentious.
back or seeking revenge or like tolerating violence or things like that.
Women can be very contentious.
Mhm.
That's not what I'm getting at all. I'm simply saying when it comes to wanting to actually kill somebody over it, wanting to start a
Okay.
war over it.
Okay. Are you aware of the poisoning rates amongst men?
The what
In like
rates?
the poisoning rates of amongst men, and I think in the early 1950s in America.
I'm not exactly sure what you're saying. Can you use different words to
Well,
describe it?
you say yeah, no problem. So what you're implying here, what you're saying, is that women tend to not really seek revenge or anything like that, correct? They're not
No.
really okay. So please elaborate, because clearly I'm misunderstanding.
I am simply saying that statistically speaking, men tend to lean
Mhm.
towards aggression more. Not that
Mhm.
women don't lean towards aggression, not that women can't fight, and not that
Mhm.
that's all they do. I'm simply saying, as a general statistic,
Mhm.
men lean towards fighting. You can look at it in our own culture. If you look at
Yeah.
like first-person shooters, women are in there,
Mhm.
yeah, but
Oh, I
most of
like
them are
first-person
guys.
shooters. Yeah.
Like
Okay.
most guys are drawn towards violence.
And
Most women tend to lean towards other things.
this leads back to my earlier question: is that genetic, or is that stuff that's socialized that you were socialized with?
Yeah, and I said that that's when you start to get into theoreticals, but I think that it's
Mhm.
genetic.
Okay, so because that's not what you said earlier, but okay, fair. I'm glad that we hammered down on that. Okay, that's why I asked about the early poisoning rates in the United States.
Yeah, and I'm not
I-
sure if I'm misunderstanding what you're saying or if you're using a word I don't know, but like, can you clarify?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, no, absolutely. A large portion of men who died in the early states of America, they were poisoned. You know who they were poisoned by?
Who?
Oh, their wives.
I've never heard of this, and I love my history, so I'm
So
curious where you're
maybe you
getting
should
this
check
from.
that out. Well, I mean, that's just from the poisoning statistics from America.
Well, and you're saying that the mass majority of men who died were
No, I
from
didn't say the mass majority.
poisonings?
The majority of people who were poisoned by
Well,
their
yeah, well, the
wives.
majority of people who were poisoned by women, but that might be because men are stronger than women on average, and therefore women have to use a more clever tactic.
Where do you get this from?
Strength metrics of men and women, is that what you're asking?
Yeah.
You take the average man and you put him up against the average woman, the average man will be stronger.
Okay. And what if everything is exactly the same? Would the man still be stronger?
What do you mean if everything was exactly the same?
No, if everything was the same between them, would the man be stronger?
Well, no, then they would be the same.
Okay.
Like, what kind of
Yeah,
question is that?
well, it's a very simple question. It's a very thought-provoking question because most men aren't trained in strength.
No, I'm not even talking about training. I'm just talking about like genetics. Men have more muscle, women have more fat. That's the way they're designed. Like fat to body ratio, men have less fat to body ratio and more muscle. It's not even training. Men and women are not the
Okay.
same. That's the whole thing that make men and women different.
Okay. And how much strength does it take to use a knife, for example?
It's not about how much strength does it take to use a knife. It's how much strength to overpower somebody else.
And are you
See,
saying?
I'm pretty strong against my wife, but another man could come along, or another woman who's significantly stronger than me, and they could beat the crap out of me.
Yeah.
Because it's
So
not
it's just kind
necessarily
of
about
it's
gender,
just
it's
kind of
about
a
strength, and a stronger person
it's a
beats a
crapshoot.
weaker person.
Yeah, it's a crapshoot.
If I wanted to, kill Dwayne The Rock Johnson, I would
Mhm.
not get in a knife fight with him.
That's right.
That
That's
that
what I'm
would be the
saying. It's
bad
it's a
idea.
crapshoot. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's a crapshoot. You don't know. So,
So my
tying
point
this back
is,
to tying the.
where are we
Let
going
me
with
finish.
this? I'm
Well, I'm
curious. I'm
tying this
already
back
over time.
to. Yeah, I'm tying this back to what we were talking about earlier, in regards to Numbers 31, where you seem to believe that these men would just adopt these women because they are less likely to resort to violence. That I've never laid with a man, actually, I should say. I
So
should
I'm
specify.
saying, I'm speculating, first of all, to be clear.
Mhm.
I'm not saying that I know this for a fact. Secondly, I'm
Mhm.
saying the clear distinction between ones that have been married and everything else in the past and the ones that haven't is
No,
that
no, no, oh, no, not marriage. No, these are just women who've slept with men. This
true,
isn't
they
about
may have not
marriage.
had the Christian moral, so maybe marriage wasn't a thing. So good correction. The distinction of those that have had sex with men and the ones who haven't is a thing of how do I say it? How do I say it? A sense of belonging, a sense of being, what's a good word for it? I don't want to say marked because I don't feel like marked gets the word across right. But
Oh, they were
tied
marked.
to that person.
Absolutely.
Like
I'm sorry,
you're
tied to
now
that.
connected to
Can
that
you
person. You're
elaborate?
tied to
Sorry.
that person. Huh?
Tied to the person who killed your family, correct?
No. I'm saying when a man and a woman have relations that they are tied to each other in a way.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're going to marry someone or if you're going to be with somebody or whatever you want to call it, you generally desire someone who's not been connected to somebody else. Maybe in American culture that's a little different, but there's the whole
Oh,
point of, virgins being,
oh.
more desirable throughout all of history.
Okay, so you mean a virgin? Okay, that's what you mean. You mean
So
that you
I'm
mean a virgin
saying,
is more desirable by insecure men. All right.
no, I'm saying like you would want to be with someone who's not been with somebody else. That's not an insecurity. Actually, that's a
Oh, it
medical risk as
absolutely
well.
is. Not really, no. Not if we
Yes.
have sexual education. No.
Do you think the people back in the Middle East back then had sexual education?
Oh, absolutely.
I would significantly doubt that they have the technology that we do today. I mean, you'd
They
rather jump to
wouldn't teach
insecure
it.
men. What are
They
we
wouldn't
getting at
teach it
here?
the same way. Well, I'm just wondering why you're defending child slavery.
I'm not defending child slavery. You're trying to strawman me. Child
Well,
slavery
no,
is
because
bad.
you are defending it right now. That is what this
I
quote's about.
literally just pointed out that if they were truly doing a child slavery, then they, by their own law, would be put to death.
Yes.
You're
They wouldn't be
strawmanning me.
child
I'm tired,
slavery.
and it's 9:43.
Okay,
I'm
okay.
gonna have to go
Last
soon. Do you have
question.
a closing
Okay.
statement?
Yes, I don't know why you're being very very cagey about that one, but it's fine. Yeah, so last question.
I don't appreciate
When
being
did
strawman, but that's it.
it well, I'm not strawmanning you. This is what you said.
Not what I said. Anyway, do you have a closing statement?
Sure. I do have a closing question. So where do you get your source that the N-word meant ignorant?
Okay, so that's your closing statement. So
Oh, I'm
I'm
sorry,
gonna
I
let
did
you
closing
go
statement.
because
Okay,
that's what I asked you
can I
to
do a
do with
closing
a closing
statement? Can I do a
statement.
closing statement? Can I do a closing statement?
No, that was your closing statement. And I will answer your closing statement if you're still watching, if you actually cared. What did the N word originally mean? Term originates from a Latin word, which means, well, that's the word negro, which is the Latin word for black. But that's not particularly what I was referring to. And again, it had several meanings, but I was referring to one where they used it as a way to say ignorant. And that's the overpronounced versus the underpronounced. So let me ask a different question. Let me see. So it did not originate as ignorant, but came to take the meaning. So to be clear, if I ever said that it originated from that, I should be correct. The original word was the, what was it, French word, Latin word for black. But as slavery became a thing, it started to also mean ignorant person. Yeah, but it did not originate as ignorant, to be clear. So, I mean, again, when someone says, well, what's your source? Google it. Like, Google a bunch of questions, not just one, because depending on how you phrase the questions, how you get a different answer. And you have to think critically about these things. But the information's out there. You can Google it. I just looked at like the first couple of results, and I typed in the first time where the word originated from. I got the Latin word for black, which now that I think about it, duh, obviously. But as culture developed, they did think of the black people as fairly ignorant. So then they started using it in that way as well, to refer to not just a black person, but a slur where it was like a dumb, maybe even animalistic black person. And again, just because I'm talking about something doesn't mean I support it. Anyway, I'm not going to let anybody else in at the moment because it's 47 minutes past the time I normally do my hard stop. So I'm going to go and end the show. Thanks for watching. I had an enjoyable time with Faith Unfolded, or Unfolding Faith. My Faith Unfolded. There it is. I had an enjoyable time with My Faith Unfolded. And I noticed that some of you were very respectful while he was here. But yeah, don't strawman me. It's not going to work. You're not going to get me to defend something I don't believe in. And I'll tell you, I don't believe in it. I don't believe in child slavery. I will never support child slavery. And when it comes to the Bible, I still believe that it never states it in there. Like that it's good anyways. To clarify, yeah, in the Old Testament, there were lots of times when they would say, erase those people off the face of the earth. Also arguably known as genocide. Genocide is commonly known as bad in our society. But here's the thing, let's say you had a group of pure evil people. Then yeah, it would make sense to stop them. So that's where I'm going to end it. You guys can leave it there. We're not doing this again because my beliefs are my beliefs and I don't have to defend them. I feel like a lot of you just wanted me to like repent on something. And once Faith Unfolded, the only legitimate person here, actually heard my true beliefs and he realized that all of you were just lying, then yeah, he didn't have much to say. Because he was coming over to me and being like, you guys did XYZ and how dare you? And then I'd say, no, here's what we believe, here's what we're actually doing. And he was like, oh, well, don't have those questions anymore. Let's move on to the next ones. And so yeah, at a certain point, what am I gonna do about it? People like Raptor here going crazy in the chat, calling me a coward. If I was a coward, I wouldn't be sitting here for what, 7:30, 8:30, 9:30, about 2 hours, a little over 2 hours. My voice is sore now. If I was a coward, I wouldn't be doing this. You'll have to justify it before the Lord. What, justify that I believed in the Lord to the Lord? I think that will be pretty easy to do. Heaven's getting kind of nervous. How? You say that like you got something on me. How? If anything, the one legitimate person here who was actually paying attention realized that, oh wait, this is actually pretty decent. Yeah, we got some people who, aren't necessarily the best in behavior. Okay. We all fall short sometimes. But when it came to actual, like, our morality and our doctrine, he realized we were strong. So what are you going to do about it? You just said you weren't going to do call-ins anymore. I never said any more. said that I don't like doing them from time to time and that I get exhausted and I'll stop from time to time. I don't know if I ever said any more. He's saying the opposite. What, My Faith Unfolded? I imagine he has his own stream. If he has his own stream, feel free to comment it to me. I'd like to see what he says. To my face, he seemed very genuine. I can't say what he's doing behind my back. Well, he's in my Discord. I'm curious what his thoughts are. To me, he seemed to not really have any problems with my actual doctrine. If he turned around and said otherwise off camera, then I can't do anything about that. But I will have to step away. So you can comment anything you want in the end. If you enjoyed watching this and you're still here and you're not one of these haters, by all means, subscribe, put up notifications, and you can see when we come out next. If you liked our doctrines and you think that we're stable and you found it maybe impressive that I could stand up to these people and, you know, stand firm in God, then by all means, follow the journey. If you're going to be like these people who just want to call me a snake and hate on me, then you can do whatever you want. And Raptor wants to claim the entire audience, so well, thanks for the views. I mean, you realize you're telling the algorithm that I'm good enough to be watched, right? Anyway, have a good one. I'm going to leave now. Have a good night, everybody.